You ready to dive into 5 and 6?
Yeah, let's go.
All righty. So to me, 5 and 6 is going to come down to 2 wide receivers. I will put them below these 3 running backs in a tier of their own. I do think that this big 6 is kind of, if you want to reorder it in best ball because wide receivers get prioritized, you can go for it. I still go with the big 3 running backs, or of course Jahmyr Chase at the top. And then my 5 and 6 is going to be either Jefferson or CeeDee Lamb. This is another one where I keep kind of flip-flopping back and forth between them. Truth, do you have a preference between these two before I kind of make the cases?
Well, these are the guys that I assumed you were going to go with at 5 and 6 in no particular order. And I think given these 2 guys, and I'm not even sure why I'm saying this, but my instincts say I would probably lean CeeDee Lamb, actually.
Interesting. And so I have Jefferson higher as of right now, but there's a few things that are a little sketchy that might vaunt me to jump with CeeDee Lamb here. So with Jefferson, I mean, through 5 professional seasons, he's never been outside the top 10 wide receivers in fantasy current points per game. Wide receiver 10 is rookie year, and then he hasn't been outside the top 5 since then. Wide receiver 4, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3. You couldn't ask for more consistency than that, and especially with Kevin O'Connell at the helm, an absolute passing game wizard. They have been top. They've been 3rd, 4th, 18th in pass attempts, 2nd, 1st, and 6th in pass yards as a team, 4th, and 5th in passing touchdowns, 3rd, 6th, and 5th in total quarterback fantasy points over his 3 years at the helm. And so you got the perfect system. You've got maybe the best wide receiver in the league. I love Chase. It is a great debate if you want to talk about who's the better talent. Chase a little more explosive, Jefferson a little bit more well-rounded. You could talk an hour about which one's better there. But I think Jefferson's truly in that conversation with Jahmyr Chase. It's just a matter of the fantasy production a little bit stronger when you have Joe Burrow throwing you the rock compared to J.J. McCarthy.
Right. Well, that's great.
Exactly. And that's one of the concerns is J.J. McCarthy going to be able to keep him afloat? I do think there's some real upside to McCarthy. He's got a cannon arm. The training camp reports have been up or down, some amazing days, some very questionable days, but he does have a cannon. And I mean, we saw Nick Mullins thrown for 400 yards in the system. Josh Dobbs was a fantasy godsend for a stretch. So ultimately, I think I trust Kevin O'Connell enough. I trust Justin Jefferson enough that I'm not worried. Even if J.J. McCarthy underwhelms a little bit, I still think Jefferson is going to eat and get his. And so to me, just the best floor ceiling combination after Jahmyr Chase at the position. That being said, CeeDee Lamb has some very real upside as well. The wide receiver 1.5 fantasy points per game over the past 2 seasons, if you average all those together. And that includes games that Dak missed as well. Lamb just last year, 2 years ago rather, put up almost 400 fantasy points. Actually did put up over 400 PPR fantasy points and had a better season than what Chase just did in 2024. That was in 2023 for CeeDee Lamb. So we know the ceiling exists. We know, especially when Dak is healthy, how crazy this can be. So with Dak, Lamb has averaged 22.3 fantasy points per game the last 2 seasons. Only Chase would have outscored him with that last season. And this is also nearly 4 points per game better than what Jefferson did last year. And so that's where it's like, okay, maybe the ceiling is a little bit higher here with Lamb. They did trade for Pickens, and maybe that siphons a little bit of targets there, takes some looks, but it also helps keep the defense honest. Pickens can really streak down the field, command safety attention. It's like, how do you double CD every single play when you have a threat like Pickens? And so to me, we might get the best Lamb we've ever seen because the defensive attention cannot completely take him out. Not that you can ever actually take out a CeeDee Lamb, but you're thinking about those over the middle, like layup looks when you got the safety deep to account for George Pickens. Like Lamb's just going to feast. He's had 152 targets and finished as top 10 wide receiver in fantasy points per game for 3 straight years. So he also has that nice safe floor with maybe a little bit of a better ceiling than Justin Jefferson. So another one of those ones where, like, the more you talk about it, it's kind of like and Jefferson has this little hamstring thing going on right now that's still lingering a little bit. You can't go wrong, but you can be more right. Another one of those cases. I think I ultimately do side with Lamb. It's a tough one, though. Very tough one.
I actually, it's interesting. You did mention this. I actually, with Pickens coming to the squad, I actually – maybe I'm naive here, but I viewed that as a positive for Lamb. I kind of look at it a little bit as, like 2 years ago, Chase Higgins type thing where we were like, oh, it's 1A and 1B. Like, which one of these guys is even better? And it's like, and I am not disparaging Higgins, obviously, when I say this, well, he's a great receiver. But eventually it became clear it's not 1A, 1B. It's like this guy's the best guy, and this guy's an excellent complementary piece. And that's kind of how I feel like the Lamb Pickens thing is going to shake out. I think it's only going to end up helping Lamb.
I actually compared Pickens and the guy to a cheaper T. Higgins in your drafts.
Oh, yeah.
So, a very apt comparison there, truth for sure. So, yeah, you can't go wrong. You can be a little more right. It does seem to me the more I talked about those stats, Lamb has just a little bit more upside even with, and perhaps because Pickens is there. So, yeah, when I update the rankings, I update the guide. I am going to bump Lamb just ahead of Jefferson, at least for as long as this hamstring thing's a concern, and probably keep it that way. Just because when you have a healthy Dak, it's much more proven than what J.J. McCarthy. As much as I believe in Kevin O'Connell, and I don't think a quarterback's going to really be a concern, it's still a little bit more of a question mark than what a healthy CeeDee and Dak could do. And their running game, I mean, they've got nobody. I love Jadon Blue, one of my favorite sleepers of the year. I do think he's going to really pay off his draft price, but they're going to lead the league in pass attempts, and their defense stinks, especially if Micah Parsons is holding out. Like, we could be looking at the Bengals of the NFC over there, where they just have to chuck. It wasn't long ago that Dak was the number one quarterback in fantasy 2 seasons ago for a really long stretch. So,
I mean, if you told me Dak was going to throw it for 5,000 yards, I wouldn't be shocked.
Yes, 100% with those two weapons. I got to get higher on Dak too. I've been a little bit too low in the rankings because Schottenheimer's typically run heavy. He came out with a big quote the other day where it's like, oh, what our philosophy is going to be, we're going to pound it up our opponent's ass. He literally said that at the press conference, which I actually was like, okay, that's kind of funny. But it's like, okay, what are you pounding up them? Like a Tic Tac? You got nothing to work with back there. When you're Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders are your 1-2. Sorry for the vulgarity, but like that was his quote. And it's like, truly, like, what are we talking about? What are you going to do? Who are you running with? So yeah, I think absolutely.
Well, you know how I feel about just stupid coach quotes. I mean, like, oh, we're going to give CJ Spiller the ball until he pukes. Okay.
Oh, don't even give me those PTSD flashbacks.
Well, I mean, it's just, everybody's like, oh, what'd you think of what this coach said? And it's like, I don't think anything about it at all.
Yeah.
Like, guys literally run their mouths for a living, whatever.
There's a great account. I know you're not on Twitter too much, Truth. But there's an account that's literally called Coach Speak Index, and it it's all the quotes and it rates the coaches in terms of like how honest they are and whatnot. It's a phenomenal follow for anybody else out there.
That sounds fantastic, actually.
It's a very, very cool concept. I'm glad somebody did it, for sure. What is up, you fantasy wolf? Thanks so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, share your thoughts in the comments. Check out some more videos and join the newest Wolfpack by subscribing below.